Also, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meeting with lawmakers on Capitol Hill today, including House Speaker Mike Johnson. Netanyahu's visit comes amid criticism from Democrats and some Republicans over his decision to launch strikes on Iran, as well as the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Now, the Prime Minister also met with President Trump last night and is set to meet with him again later this evening, where the two will likely discuss the proximity talks on a Gaza ceasefire. ABC News' Jay O'Brien is joining me now with the latest on this. So first of all, Jay, what's the purpose of the Israeli Prime Minister's, visit again, specifically, though, these meetings with lawmakers on the Hill? How does that differ from the previous visits?
So this is the third time that Netanyahu has come to Washington. And when you come to D.C. to meet with the president, you also have to go to Capitol Hill to meet with the various people who appropriate the money and the munitions and the military aid that the U.S. sends to Israel. So the fact that the meetings are occurring is not that big of a news item. But they are occurring in the closest Israel and Hamas have been, according to Israeli officials, to striking some kind of a ceasefire agreement. And Netanyahu gave rare remarks. He took questions from reporters, myself included, when he was there at the Capitol when he wrapped up meetings with Speaker Johnson and other top Republicans in the House. And he was asked about his conditions, his red lines as these ceasefire talks continue. Here's a little bit of what he said.
We have still to finish the job in Gaza, release all our hostages, eliminate and destroy Hamas's military and governance capabilities, because Gaza must have a different future for our sake, for everyone's sake. And no country will settle for less. We certainly will not. These are all things that I discussed with President Trump. I may discuss further with him later in this visit.
So signaling there, Kana, that there is still, at least in Netanyahu's public-facing rhetoric here, work to be done in Gaza and more of an operation to continue. But one more piece of news that came out of that, of course, was Netanyahu confirming something that the White House later confirmed, which is that he and the president will now meet for a second time this evening to talk about a ceasefire in Gaza. It's unclear what has changed, if anything has changed, between the last time they met just yesterday, but that ceasefire expected to be the central piece of their discussions later today.
Is there any indication, Jay, that might actually take shape during this visit, that there could be news made regarding a ceasefire anytime soon?
I mean, it's very much unclear. The last ABC News has heard from a senior Israeli official is that the talks were 80 to 90% of the way there to a deal. Again, that's just the Israeli side of the equation, but those talks still continue and there are still sticking points. The extent of the withdrawal of the Israeli military from the southern portion of Gaza, ways to increase the amount of aid that flies into Gaza, et cetera, or that goes into Gaza rather, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is these talks could still last for days, if not weeks. And again, it's unclear why this second meeting was added to Netanyahu's schedule.
All right, Jay O'Brien, our thanks to you as always.